Assalamu alaikum everybody and welcome back to the channel. Islamic mortgages are a subject that split opinion and get people very hot under the collar. Some people say, don't you dare say Islamic mortgages are halal, whereas others say, don't you dare say Islamic mortgages are haram. But what if I told you that there was another way, something that is unambiguously Sharia compliant and that requires a pretty low deposit to get going as well?
Halal? Low deposits?
Well, now there is. It's a company called Wayhome who are offering a product called Gradual Homeownership. It has a lot of similarities with the shared ownership model, the main one being it is part buy, part rent. But there are also a lot of differences as well, and we'll be getting into all of those later on. But how does it work? And how does it stack up with the other options available right now? And what are the pros and cons of this product? And finally, most importantly, when does it make sense for you to go for it? We'll dig into all of that and more in this video. So let's dive in. If you're new to this channel, Islamic Finance Guru, or IFG for short, is a halal investment and personal finance platform where we analyze, compare and review all the latest and greatest investment products and financial products coming out of the Islamic finance world. Our mission is really simple. We want to help Muslims everywhere get wealthier and put their money to work. If that sounds like it's up your street, then please do like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and please do share this with your friends and your family. And if you'd like to connect with me and tens of thousands of like-minded others, then please do join our Telegram groups, and the link for that is in the description below. Before we dive into how Wayhome works, let's take stock of the options available for Muslims right now. Firstly, you have Islamic mortgages. They are undoubtedly the cheapest way for a Muslim to get home financing right now, but they also do have their challenges as well. For example, the main two players, Gatehouse and Al Rayyan Bank, both require relatively high initial deposits. And Al Rayyan in particular is going through a process of consolidation where their focus is shifting a little bit away from retail to the more corporate end of the market and also to more of the high net worths. They're also a bit slow in processing your application relative to mainstream companies. You can compare the rates between them and other banks on our Islamic mortgage comparison engine. The link for that is in the description below. The next option is Halal Housing, which is a shared ownership scheme. They don't require a mortgage alongside your application and don't necessarily require you to buy houses as part of a new build scheme, so you can buy other houses as well. They charge roughly 5% per annum and the rent goes up every year by inflation plus a little bit more than that. The pros of Halal Housing are that it is unreproachably Sharia compliant and it requires a relatively low 5% deposit to actually get started. The cons are that unfortunately Halo is pretty expensive relative to mainstream mortgages and Islamic mortgages, and there is a pretty long waiting list because they only have a small pot of money that they can deploy every year. So it's a bit of a hit and miss in terms of getting onto the actual scheme. Then you have conventional mortgages. Some Islamic scholars have historically allowed you to take out one conventional mortgage for your residential property. However, our view is that with the introduction of Islamic mortgages and other alternatives, going for a conventional mortgage just doesn't make sense anymore. Then you could continue renting and buy in cash once you've saved up all of that money. But the problem with that is that firstly, you'll probably be near retirement by the time you've saved up enough, especially in places like London. And secondly, in that process, you will literally lose hundreds of thousands of pounds because that's how much you will pay over in your rent. But now there is another alternative to throw in there. The closest thing to Wayhome is probably Halal Housing, although there are substantial differences even between those two. It is a purely equity-based model where you buy equity stakes in your house regularly as you go along. It doesn't use a mortgage, no one lends you any money. Instead, Wayhome use an innovative LLP structure where you go into partnership with the investors. In this case, it is a fund managed by Allianz Global Investors. This is a novel structure that Wayhome have developed themselves in order for you to be able to easily buy chunks of your property as you go along in a tax efficient way. One crucial difference between Wayhome and other finance providers though is that they pre-vet the properties that you can buy. Their algorithms and teams scour places like Zoopla and other property platforms, and they will add those properties onto the Wayhome platform that they know will potentially be suitable. So you can't just buy any home that you see and like, but then the upside is that all of the properties on the Wayhome platform are much more likely to be approved from financing when it actually comes to the crunch. Besides, Wayhome is scouring all the big property platforms out there, places like Zoopla and others, and so the list that you have to choose from isn't exactly restricted. You'll pay market rent on the portion of the property that the investor owns, and that rent will increase in line with inflation every year, but of course it will go down if you buy more and more chunks of that property. It's useful to actually contrast this with Halo, who increase their rents every year by inflation plus an additional amount as well. With Wayhome, it's just the inflation rate. Wayhome also doesn't make any money from you. The way that Wayhome make money is that they charge their investment partners for the work they have done in setting up this partnership and managing this property investment for them. The way that it practically works is that you do the following steps. First, you sign it to Wayhome and they will tell you if you are actually eligible for funding. Then they will use that information to only surface those properties that are most suitable for you. And you can usually get between 5 to 8 times your household annual income in terms of the financing amount. Second, you log on and shortlist some of these properties. For any homes that you like, you let Wayhome know that you like them. Then they will get their expert negotiators to negotiate a price that is within the appropriate range. And given that these guys do this stuff for a living, you'd expect them to be probably better than the average person when it comes to negotiating on price. Once the offer is accepted, Wayhome actually take on that considerable headache of dealing with conveyancing, solicitors and surveys, etc., etc. Nearing completion, you then sign a tenancy agreement and an LLP agreement. Finally, completion takes place and you can move in. And you can actually make aesthetic changes to make the house feel a bit more like your own as well. One thing to bear in mind is that you can only increase your ownership by 5% every year, up to a maximum of 39.99%. After that, you can continue living in that property for as long as you like, as long as you continue paying your rent, or you can use a mortgage to buy out the rest of that property, or you can buy it out in cash if you like, or you can even sell that property as well at that point. This might seem like a slightly odd term, but actually it makes a lot of sense for many users because most people at that point will want to switch to the lower monthly cost of a mortgage. And no one's actually forcing you to leave. You can live in that property for as long as you like until you decide what you want to do next, if indeed you want to do anything next. No one's going to ask you to leave. They require a lower deposit than an Islamic mortgage, as little as 5%. They are very unambiguously Sharia compliant and have been certified to be so by reputable and leading Islamic scholars. There's no controversy on this matter. You can stay as long as you want. The majority of the costs are actually split between you and Wayhome pro rata. This is actually quite a nice feature and contrasts with Islamic banks who just put all of those costs onto you. And the two main costs that you'll see are the purchasing costs initially when you buy the property, and also the home support plan that you sign up with. And this support plan is a compulsory plan that you enter into, which pays for the maintenance of certain key facilities in your house and also covers the building insurance as well. Another benefit is that properties aren't restricted to just new build properties like the Help to Buy schemes. Wayhome also don't charge you any fees for buying your house, or indeed if you buy more chunks of your house as you go along as well. All of their fees come from what they charge to their investment partners. The core product that Wayhome provide is not required to be regulated by the FCA. However, they are regulated for the insurance brokerage services that they provide. The upshot of all of this is that you don't get access to the Financial Ombudsman Service and then the FSCS compensation scheme. However, you do get access to the Property Redress Scheme, which is a government authorized body that Wayhome has signed up to. You get a list of properties to pick from, but there are some restrictions on the types of properties that you see. For example, you won't see any new builds on there, you won't see any ex-council house properties, and you won't see any properties with disproportionately sized rooms either. You also can't redo your kitchen or bathroom or make structural changes to the property, for example, removing walls. Wayhome is also not yet available across all of the UK. However, most key locations are covered. Wayhome makes a lot of sense if you have a small deposit and can't get yourself onto an Islamic mortgage. It's also a nice halfway house to get you onto the property ladder quicker. Wayhome can also make sense if you have any lingering doubts about the Sharia compliance of Islamic mortgages. As you probably know if you follow this channel for a while, I'm not one of those people. I think Islamic mortgages are fine, but I appreciate there's a spectrum of views out there. So if you are someone who has those doubts, then something like Wayhome makes a lot of sense. Wayhome also makes a lot of sense if you're currently renting, but you'd like to have that stability of a long-term tenancy agreement and the optionality of potentially buying the place that you're renting at some point in the future. Most importantly, you can buy sooner, so you can start building your deposit whilst living in a house that you like and you can make your own as well. I'm really excited about the introduction of Wayhome to the UK market. I think it offers a real option for Muslims to take advantage of. I've lost count of the number of times people have reached out to us at IFG and asked for lower deposit options as an alternative to an Islamic mortgage. And really, there hasn't been anywhere to point them to until now. Of course, Wayhome is a young company and it's a novel concept and it won't be right for everyone. But I'm still impressed by the product that they've come up with so far, and I will be following their story very closely over the next few months, because I think there's a lot of potential here. That's it for today, folks. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like it and share with your friends and family. And then please do also let us know about your own property buying journey in the comments below and any other videos that you'd like us to make on this topic. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.